Hello again. I dare say that most viewers will have at least some passing familiarity with Wakanda, the fictional African country created by Marvel Comics in the 1960s. This imaginary nation was ruled over by a superhero called Black Panther. Since the character first appeared in Marvel Comics in 1966, the association with the Black Panthers, a militant African American group, is obvious, since the Black Panthers itself was founded in the same year. A film based upon the character of Black Panther and featuring the country of Wakanda appeared in 2018. Wakanda has, for many African Americans, especially young ones, come to symbolise all that they have lost, or more precisely not gained, due to the slave trade and colonialism in Africa. In the world of Black Panther, Wakanda is the most advanced nation on earth, but all its science and technology is used for the good of humanity, and not in the selfish and destructive way that it is in white nations like the United States. This idea that black people in their cultures are kinder and more benevolent than those which white people create has been a popular theme since the 18th century, and not only among black people. In the description to this video, I give a link to a piece written for a history magazine about the significance of Wakanda. We read that Wakanda symbolises a wonderland of possibilities. What would have happened to a society not affected by the devastating impact of racism and colonialism? In that sense, the film is a beacon for the black imagination, what blackness could be in the future. This is how many black people in the United States feel about Wakanda, that it shows a world which could really have been, had it not been for those white devils with their slave trade and racism. Hand in hand with the growth of an adherence to the idea of Wakanda by many black people, has developed its use as a means of mocking black aspirations by some white people, of course. This often goes hand in hand with the racially derogatory expression, "we was kings." Although this particular phrase first appeared in 2015, it took off dramatically with the release of the Black Panther film in 2018, and is often seen in association with mocking references to Wakanda. For my own part, I see Wakanda and the use of Wakanda as an icon by African Americans, that is to say a dream of a world which might have been, as damaging both for black people and white. The truth is that when white Europeans went to Africa for the first time in the late 15th century, they found for the most part a world which resembled that which had existed in Europe tens of thousands of years earlier. They found in Africa none of the stone buildings, such as soaring cathedrals, which were to be found in European cities. No science, no technology, not even carts drawn by domesticated animals. Even the wheel had not been invented, and neither had writing. By the time that colonisation began in earnest in the 19th century, the Europeans had steam engines and books, telescopes, microscopes and electricity, telegraphs and cameras. The people whose lands they then occupied had none of this. They were still in the same general condition as they had been for the whole of their history, which is to say living for the most part in single-storey buildings made of mud and wood. To pretend that these people would, if only the Europeans had left them alone, have gone on to develop a sophisticated civilization is a fantasy, one which works well enough in the world of comic books but bears no relation to the actual world. Buying into the idea that if, in an alternative world, white people had left Africa alone, then technology and civilization would have arisen in that continent in an even better fashion than in Europe, makes black people feel aggrieved. They start to think that Wakanda is something that they have been cheated out of, that an advanced technological society could actually have emerged in Africa were it not for racism and colonialism. This is very unlikely, of course, but thinking it so cannot help but give black people a grudge against whites for interfering in Africa and destroying such hopes and dreams. In other words, fans of the comic books and the film Black Panther are being subtly indoctrinated to blame white people for the fact that such a marvellous nation as Wakanda never existed in our world. Anything which makes one section of society feel a permanent grudge against another can hardly be conducive to stability and community harmony. Quite a few young African Americans actually feel a longing for Wakanda in the way that some young people in Britain and America used to have a love of and desire to visit Middle Earth when the Tolkien craze was at its peak in the 1960s and 1970s. The difference is, of course, that while Middle Earth was obviously a free creation of one man's mind, and clearly an invention, this is not the case with Wakanda. Wakanda shows black people, also they think, how the world could have been a very different and infinitely better place had white people not meddled in Africa. So although for white people there is something ridiculous about Wakanda, which is why it is the subject of such mockery and derision, there is a more serious side to it, and it is an aspect which exerts a baleful influence upon young black people in America.